I remember very clearly the day I stepped into my in-laws' mansion, holding the investment proposal I had spent 3 months preparing. I was trembling, not out of fear, but out of hope. Hope that this time, they would finally see me not just as the black wife from the South Side, but as a woman with a mind, with ambition, with dreams. I think I could contribute a small investment to the company, I said, placing the color-printed documents on the table, each chart and every line crafted with all my heart. Just a small portion, but I truly believe this user data analysis project could triple in profit within the first quarter. But life rarely goes the way we hope. If you want to know what happened to me next, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to keep following my story. Nathan, my husband, the man I once believed to be my closest ally, glanced briefly at his mother. And then she, Evelyn, didn't even try to hide her smirk. "Oh, dear Amina, you're certainly enthusiastic. But you see, our family business isn't the place for experiments. You should focus on other things, like mastering the dinner table, perhaps." I froze. Nathan held my hand under the table, but said nothing. No defense, no objection. I could hear the blood pounding in my ears. All those years studying engineering, all those extra hours I worked to save every single dollar, all reduced to a proposal that was casually dismissed. That night, when we got home, I asked him directly, "What did you think of my investment idea?" He looked away, avoiding my gaze. You know how conservative they are. Don't take it personally. They're just protecting the company. Protecting it from whom? From me. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay next to the man who once promised to treat me as an equal partner, but now all I saw was the silent curve of his back. The investment plan I had poured all my intellect and belief in and now sat quietly at the bottom of the kitchen trash. I understood then. In their eyes, I wasn't good enough to be a business partner, only good enough to be a wife, a prop in the family photo that screamed diversity. But what they didn't know was, I don't need permission to shine. All I ever needed was a reason to begin, and they had just given me the perfect one. After that night, I went silent, but not the kind of silence that means surrender. I started waking up earlier, cooking better breakfast, smiling more at Evelyn. The picture-perfect daughter-in-law, the most flawless disguise for a quiet plan being built inside me, day by day. On the outside, I was Amina, the gentle wife, wearing an apron, standing in their pristine white kitchen. But on the inside, I was Amina, the data engineer once called the right hand of the head of AI at Novasoft. Only thing was, I had quit after the wedding because Nathan said, "I make enough now. You don't need to tire yourself out. Just stay home, okay?" I believed him. I believed that was love. But now I realize it was the sweet trap of a world designed to make women like me slowly fade away. So I started again, from the smallest pieces. I enrolled in an online course on venture capital investing. By day, I baked cookies and decorated the living room. But when the clock struck midnight, I opened my laptop and learned how to evaluate funding rounds. I messaged Ria, my best friend from college, the one who stayed up with me for 48 straight hours in the lab to finish her final project. She's now a lead software developer at a mental health startup. I typed, "Remember that voice-based AI assistant idea? I want to try it again, but this time for real." Ria replied with just 3 words, "Always with you." I hid everything from Nathan. He didn't notice. He thought I was doing online yoga and learning how to make Italian food. 3 months later, Sarah AI, our virtual assistant, had its first working prototype. Not a Siri or Alexa. No, it was a companion. One that remembered your mood from yesterday, analyzed your sleep patterns from last week, and gently asked, "Amina, you seem overwhelmed today. It's time to rest. Would you like to hear last night's playlist again?" Ria handled the tech. I handled UI design, voice data, and contextual modeling. We weren't just writing code. We were creating what I'd always wished for, a voice that made you feel truly heard. When we sent out our demo to a few angel investors, my hand shook reading the first reply. "We'd love to meet the founder." I scheduled the meeting at a small cafe in Brooklyn, not some big downtown office, because I was still that woman not allowed to invest in her own home. And under the soft golden lights of late afternoon, one of the investors said flat out, "If this came from an anonymous team, I'd swear it was built by Google. So, how much are you asking for the pre-seed?" I smiled. For the first time in months, I truly smiled. They thought I only knew how to cook and smile. Fine. I'd use that very same smile to unlock the doors they never thought I held the keys to. I will never forget how it felt to hold that first term sheet in my hands. The amount wasn't huge, $500,000 for 15% equity, but it was the quiet answer to Evelyn's condescending nod and Nathan's humiliating silence. I incorporated the company under a completely unfamiliar name, Nova Grace Ventures. The registration address was in a different state. Rhea was listed as the legal representative. I was completely invisible, and I liked it that way. Meanwhile, back home, Nathan's family company, Whitmore Solutions, was floundering. Since last year, they had lost 2 major contracts with logistics firms due to bugs in their AI behavior analytics system. Rumors spread quickly across startup forums. The market started doubting their so-called innovation. I heard Nathan talk about it over dinner, his eyes weary but still in denial. "It's just temporary. We've got a strong foundation. Don't worry, love." I didn't say anything, but deep down I thought, a strong foundation, unless someone knows it's already rotting from within. And I knew, all too well. I had analyzed their core code back when I was still an engineer. I knew that bug had been there for 3 years, quietly ignored to meet aggressive deadlines. Now, it was turning into a ticking time bomb. I started reaching out, anonymously, to contacts in the VC world, asking around about off-market shares. Anyone liquidating quietly? Any silent exits? And then I saw it. 5% equity, up for sale by a foreign investment fund, due to loss of confidence in the company's current direction. I called Rhea immediately, without hesitation. Buy it all, whatever the price. If they're selling, we're keeping. 3 weeks later, Nova Grace Ventures held 5% of Whitmore Solutions, and they had no idea the buyer was the very daughter-in-law they dismissed. The next stock drop came after their Texas logistics partner pulled out of a deal. The market responded harshly. Another internal investor quietly listed 2% equity, and I bought again. I kept quietly collecting those shards of power, like a woman picking up diamonds from the ashes. Each morning, I still brewed coffee for Nathan, still listened to my mother-in-law talk about traditional womanly values, still smiled as my sister-in-law flaunted her new purse. No one knew that while washing dishes, I was reading their financial reports. While baking cookies, I was negotiating another deal with a former McKinsey strategist. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to wait for the right moment. And that moment came sooner than I thought. A leaked internal email revealed the executive team was discussing selling part of the company for emergency funding. And they were looking for a credible, strategic buyer who could keep things quiet. I typed a reply from Nova Grace Ventures. "Please send the pitch deck. We're interested." It was a crisp autumn morning. Golden leaves lined a road leading to the headquarters of Whitmore Solutions, the glass skyscraper that my husband's family proudly called their 3-generation legacy. I wore an elegant cream-colored suit, sunglasses, and my hair neatly tied up. On the outside, I looked like just another unfamiliar businesswoman visiting from some faraway firm. No one recognized me. Even as I walked through the main lobby, Evelyn, my mother-in-law, passed right by me with nothing more than a dismissive glance. She was too busy instructing staff on the setup for the Q4 shareholders meeting, where they planned to unveil the company's restructuring strategy. I entered the VIP boardroom through a private entrance, reserved only for shareholders with over 5% stake. I had 7%, and they had no idea. I sat in seat number 11. Beside me was an older man with salt and pepper hair, the legal counsel for Nova Grace Ventures. He looked at me and gave a small nod. "Ready." I took a deep breath. The meeting began. Nathan's voice came through the microphone, more strained than usual. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we present our strategy for restructuring the company with the support of a new strategic stakeholder." I leaned back, listening to him go on about digital transformation, confidence and internal innovation, and a potential partner currently in negotiations. He didn't know that partner was sitting right in front of him. The presentation advanced to the slide titled Strategic Partner, with the Nova Grace Ventures logo displayed on screen. Whispers began floating across the room. Never heard of them. Where's this company from? Anyone know who the rep is? Nathan spoke again. We'll now introduce the representative joining us today to answer any questions directly. I stood up and removed my sunglasses. The room froze. Nathan looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Evelyn's mouth dropped open. William, my father-in-law, placed his glass down and clattered a silver spoon across the table. I spoke calmly, steadily, without a hint of tremble. Good morning, everyone. I'm Amina Whitmore, or rather, Amina Grace, founder of Nova Grace Ventures. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to do what this company never dared to do. Bring change. Silence blanketed the room. Only the faint hum of the AC filled the air. I continued. I believe the future doesn't belong to those who clutch power in a room full of people who look the same, think the same, and shut out everyone who doesn't fit in. I once asked to invest in this company. The answer was no. Now I'm back, not to ask, but to buy. Evelyn stammered. How did you? Why you? I turned to her and smiled. The gentlest smile I'd ever practiced in the mirror. Because I learned from the best. From those who thought all I could do was cook and smile. The meeting ended in heavy silence. The shareholders left their seats faster than they had arrived. Every handshake felt awkward. No one dared look me in the eye. No one knew what to call me anymore. I didn't need their greetings. I only needed the eyes of 3 people. Nathan, Evelyn, and William. Nathan was the first to approach. His face had gone pale, as if betrayed by the memories he had built himself. Amina, you kept all of this from me. The company, the shares. I looked him straight in the eyes. Calm, not angry. No need to raise my voice. I didn't hide anything. I stayed silent. The same way you stayed silent when I was being belittled. The same way you stared down at your plate instead of looking your mother in the eye when she called me an outsider. Turns out, you're more comfortable with silence than with truth. Evelyn cut in, her voice sharp like a blade. So this is revenge? You think your money can buy everything now? Who do you think you are? I turned to her and gave the faintest smile. Not revenge, Evelyn. Just investment. I put money into a company whose stock was falling and desperately needed capital. If it hadn't been me, it would have been some hedge fund. The difference is, I know this company from the inside. The good and the ugly. William, who had stayed quiet until now, finally spoke. You might claim a board seat. You might shift direction. But this family. I gently interrupted him, firm but soft. I never wanted to be part of a family that saw the color of my skin before they ever heard the sound of my voice. I used to crave their acceptance. Not anymore. I came to lead, not to beg. Nathan took a half step back, and in his eyes, I saw fear. Not fear of me, but fear of truth. He had lost me long ago, not because I changed, but because I'd always been this woman, and he simply chose not to see her. I love you, Amina. I truly love you. I smiled bitterly. You loved me when I was smaller than you, when I needed you, when I was the little woman you could save. But I don't need saving anymore. And you don't know how to love a woman who saves herself. The 3 of them stood there like relics from a dream I had finally woken up from. I didn't need apologies. I didn't need regret. I only needed them to know that the silence they once forced on me had become the very tool I used to rewrite my destiny. I walked out of that boardroom. The sun had broken through the clouds, and I took a deep breath. Freedom had never tasted this sweet. A year later, the name Amina Grace appeared on the cover of Forbes Women with the headline, "The woman who quietly took control of a $500 million company without anyone's permission." I still wake up at 6 a.m., brew my coffee, check my emails. But no one sits across from me pretending to listen anymore. I live alone in a glass apartment on the 40th floor, no longer needing anyone to validate my existence. Whitmore Solutions has changed. From personnel to operations, I integrated new AI technology, the very product developed by Saren.ai, the startup I co-founded. And this time, I signed a contract as the seller. I still hold a seat on the board, but I don't attend every meeting. I'm too busy building free tech centers for young women of color in Chicago, Atlanta, and Houston. The same girls once told they don't belong in tech are now rewriting the algorithms of the very world that once excluded them. Nathan's texted a few times. I haven't replied. I don't hate him. I just don't need permission to move forward anymore. Because now I understand. The greatest power doesn't lie in wealth or last names. It lies in the moment you look in the mirror and say, I am enough, even if no one else believes it. Do you think she should forgive or move on? Drop a comment below, and thank you for listening.